I always thought I knew Jasmine. From the moment we met, she had this light around her, sharp, confident, almost intoxicating. She brought color into my otherwise calculated world. For 5 years, she was home. Even when we fought, even when things got tense, I still believed we were solid. Lately, though, that belief had started to crack. Something shifted after the engagement. It wasn't dramatic, just quieter responses, longer silences, forced laughter that didn't reach her eyes. I chalked it up to wedding stress. Maybe I wanted to believe that too badly. Cole had been my best friend since college, opposite of me in every way. He was reckless, charming, the kind of guy who'd take a shot before asking what's in the glass. Jasmine always said he was entertaining, fun to have around. I never read more into that. I should have. The night it all shifted was meant to be harmless. Game night. Drinks, laughter, just our circle of friends at Cole Place. At some point, someone, probably Cole, suggested a truth or dare spin for couples. Dares only. Jasmine was already tipsy, flush in the cheeks, her hand casually draped over Cole's shoulder, as if that wasn't strange. She laughed too hard when Cole pitched the final dare. Switch partners for 24 hours, just for fun, no boundaries. Number. Explanations, just trust. Everyone laughed, except me. I asked if we were seriously doing this. Jasmine smiled like it was nothing, like I was the one being dramatic. It's just a joke, she whispered. Let's live a little. I agreed, not because I wanted to, but because the room was staring, and Jasmine's eyes were daring me to say no. I didn't want to seem insecure. So I got paired with Vanessa. We spent the rest of the night talking about music, old travel stories, nothing deep. She was kind, respectful. We didn't touch beyond a friendly hug. I could sense she felt awkward. 2. I tried not to think about Jasmine and Cole, but it was impossible. Every laugh I heard from the other room felt like a sharp jab to the chest. Every moment they were out of sight gnawed at me. I kept telling myself it was just a game. I went home early. Vanessa called an Uber. Jasmine didn't come home that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding against my ribs. I wanted to call her but didn't. I wanted to know where she was, but some part of me already did. My phone stayed silent all night. When she walked through the door the next morning, she didn't apologize. She didn't explain. Just said she was tired and needed a shower. No mention of where she was or who she was with. I didn't push. I couldn't. I remember watching her walk across the room. Hair tangled, makeup smudged, wearing clothes I didn't recognize. Something inside me started unraveling. She wasn't even pretending to care how it looked. I told myself I was overthinking, that this was just fallout from the dare, that I was being paranoid, but the unease didn't go away. It grew, and I hated myself for letting her talk me into that bet, for playing along with something that never felt like a game to begin with. That night, I scrolled through her Instagram, nothing new. But someone had tagged her in a group story I'd almost missed. The video was short, blurry, background music blasting. But there she was, Jasmine, laughing, curled up next to Cole, hand on his leg, too familiar. He leaned in close, whispered something in her ear, and she didn't flinch. She smiled. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I put it down, closed my eyes, and tried to forget what I saw. But sleep wouldn't come. The image of them stayed burned behind my eyelids. I realized then I was no longer trying to protect the relationship. I was trying to protect myself from the truth. I already knew. Jasmine came to bed without a word. I turned away when she lay down. She didn't ask why. She didn't care. And that, more than anything, told me everything I needed to know. The next morning, her screamed louder than any confession. She moved around like nothing happened. No explanations, no guilt. Just a casual air of dismissal, like last night hadn't meant anything. I asked if everything was okay. She said it was. I asked where she stayed. She smiled and said, with friends. When I mentioned Cole, her eyes shifted, but she didn't flinch. Why does it matter? It was part of the game, remember? Something in me cracked. Not from jealousy, but from the certainty that she didn't feel sorry. She wasn't even pretending to lie well. She made coffee, checked her phone, hummed, while scrolling like we hadn't just crossed a line we could never uncross. Later that day, Vanessa texted, "Hey, you okay? Last night was weird." I asked her to be honest. After a long pause, she responded, "Jasmine and Cole. They weren't subtle. People left early. It was uncomfortable." I didn't know what to say back. My hands shook. I read her message again and again, as if repetition might soften the blow. It didn't. Still. Part of me clung to denial. Maybe Jasmine had too much to drink. Maybe things got out of hand. Maybe it didn't go that far. Maybe I was just being insecure again. I knew those thoughts were lies, but I needed to believe them. I needed one reason not to walk away from everything we'd built. Later that evening, she came home and acted like we weren't disintegrating. I asked again what happened that night. This time she got defensive. Said I was blowing things out of proportion. Said it was just a dare, and I needed to relax. I asked if she slept with him. Her response was a pause. A pause long enough to feel like a verdict. "It was just a stupid bet," she muttered. "Don't make it bigger than it is." I couldn't breathe. I stared at her, waiting for her to tell me I was wrong. She didn't. Instead, she turned it around. "Why are you acting like you're innocent? You spent the night with Vanessa." I told her nothing happened. She shrugged like it didn't matter. Like all sins now canceled each other out. After she went to shower, I picked up her iPad. Her messages were synced. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. I needed answers she wasn't giving. What I found didn't destroy me. It confirmed what I already knew. A thread between her and Cole. Short, flirty, dated weeks before the party. One message chilled me. "Last night was a mistake, but I can't stop thinking about it." His reply. Was it a mistake or was it real? I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt numb. Betrayal doesn't always feel like fire. It's sometimes a cold, slow flood. I stared at the screen. For minutes, unsure what to do next. I called Cole. He answered like nothing was wrong. I asked him directly. He didn't deny it. "You lost the bet," he said. "You agreed." I didn't make her do anything. She wanted it. I hung up without a word. There was nothing left to say. I looked at a photo on my desk, our engagement shoot, all fake smiles and filtered promises. I deleted it, then another, then all of them. Erasing our past felt easier than confronting what it had become. Jasmine came back into the room, asked if I wanted dinner. I didn't answer. She didn't press. That night, I lay beside her and felt a stranger. Her breathing, her warmth, her body, it all felt foreign. I realized I didn't want explanations anymore. I didn't want her to lie or justify it. I just wanted out. What shattered me wasn't the act, it was the ease with which she moved on like it hadn't happened. Like we hadn't mattered. I thought betrayal would come with chaos. With screaming matches, slammed doors, emotional explosions. But this was quiet, slow, surgical. It didn't feel like war. It felt like a slow death. A realization that the person you loved stopped loving you a long time ago, and you just didn't see it coming. I ended it without drama. No yelling, no begging, no explanations. I told her we were done, and for a second, she looked genuinely surprised, like she hadn't thought I'd follow through. Then came the gaslighting. She asked if I was really willing to throw everything away over a stupid mistake. I didn't respond, because it wasn't a mistake. Mistakes happen in moments. This was a decision, layered and deliberate. She said she only went through with it because she felt unseen, unappreciated, that she just wanted to feel desired again. I asked her if betraying me made her feel seen. She had no answer for that. She suggested therapy, said we could rebuild, that we were stronger than one night. I told her it wasn't one night. It was the months of quiet disconnection, the way she looked at someone else while standing next to me. I told her it wasn't about the sex, it was about the intention. And she intended every bit of it. She didn't argue again. She just walked out and didn't slam the door. That silence was the closure. I blocked Cole on everything. Deleted every photo, every chat, every memory that tied into anything I cared about. There was no confrontation, no final reckoning, just erasure. I couldn't afford to leave the door open for even one excuse. That kind of betrayal didn't need a second chance. It needed to be buried. The weeks after were ugly. I stopped talking to people, skipped calls, slept during the day, and stayed up at night wondering how I missed so much. Friends tried to reach out. Vanessa messaged again, said she hoped I was okay. She never asked for details. She just said she understood. I believed her. She saw it before I did. I started therapy. Not because I believed it would fix anything, but because I needed to understand why I let it go so far. Why I ignored the gut feeling that had been screaming for months. I remembered every moment Jasmine made me feel small for asking too many questions. Every time Cole joked about her being too hot to be locked down. Every time I laughed it off instead of speaking up. The truth is, I wanted to believe I was safe with them. That loyalty meant something. That love could hold up against temptation. But it didn't. Not in their world. What hurt most wasn't the betrayal. It was that I stayed even when I knew better. That I saw the cracks and painted over them. That I confused loyalty with silence. And now I was paying for it. I wrote Jasmine a message I never sent. I typed, deleted, retyped, and saved it in my drafts. In it, I told her everything I couldn't say to her face. That I didn't hate her. That I just couldn't love someone who could destroy something so carefully built. That I would never understand how one night meant more to her than 5 years. That she didn't just sleep with someone else, she humiliated me, broke me in front of people who once respected us. That she didn't lose me because of Cole. She lost me because I finally saw who she really was. I started to rebuild. Slowly. Took back the space that once felt shared. Rearranged the furniture. Removed every trace of her voice, her scent, her presence. It wasn't healing, it was survival. Some days were easier. Others felt like suffocating underwater with no rescue. But I didn't go back. That had to count for something. The hardest part wasn't losing her. It was realizing I never really had her. That even when she held my hand, part of her was already somewhere else. I gave everything to someone who only gave pieces in return. And now I'm left gathering what's left of me, piece by piece. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I tell it because I know someone out there is ignoring their gut right now, laughing off the jokes, dismissing the distance, believing love is supposed to hurt sometimes. It's not. And if it does really hurt, you have to ask yourself who you're protecting, the relationship, or your own fear of being alone. The night I lost that bet wasn't the night everything ended. It was the night everything was revealed. And once the truth comes out, pretending doesn't work anymore. Some bets cost more than pride. Some cost you peace. And that's one price I'll never pay again. I didn't miss her. Not really. What I missed was the version of her I built in my head. The person I defended in every argument. The one I believed would never cross a line, even when I saw her erasing it inch by inch. That version of her never existed. She was someone I invented to feel safe, someone I held on to so I wouldn't have to face how lonely I'd become in the middle of a relationship that was already over long before that night. Asterisk in the weeks that followed, people started talking. Friends who'd been silent before suddenly wanted to tell me what they saw, what they heard. Apparently, I was the last to know. There were whispers about Jasmine and Cole long before the party. Flirting, late-night conversations, drinks after. Group hangouts when I wasn't around. Someone even mentioned a hotel room booking weeks earlier. I didn't ask for proof. I didn't need it. The truth didn't need confirmation anymore. It had settled in too deep to be denied. Asterisk, what hurt wasn't just that she cheated. It was how calculated it had been. That entire night wasn't spontaneous. It was orchestrated. The bet wasn't a wild game. It was a setup. Something they dressed up as fun to give themselves cover. I kept thinking about the way she smiled when Cole suggested it, like it wasn't new, like it had already been decided. Asterisk, I ran into Vanessa again at a mutual friend's gathering. She looked at me carefully, like she wasn't sure whether to bring it up. I appreciated that. She didn't say much, just asked how I was holding up. I told her I was doing better, even if it wasn't completely true. She nodded and said, "You didn't deserve that." I believed her. And I realized I hadn't heard those words from anyone else, not even from myself. Asterisk, I used to think closure came from the other person. That they had to explain themselves, apologize, make it make sense. But I've stopped waiting. There's no explanation that would make what they did forgivable. No apology that would fix the deliberate nature of it. Closure is when you stop needing their version of the story to validate your experience. When your pain no longer requires their permission to exist. Asterisk, I started journaling again. Not about her, but about me. About the parts of myself I let go of to keep the peace. The things I stopped doing to avoid confrontation. The small sacrifices I made in the name of compromise that slowly turned into self-erasure. Every entry reminded me I had betrayed myself long before she did. And that's the part I've been working hardest to forgive. Asterisk, I don't hate her. Hate gives her too much space in my life. What I feel now is indifference, layered with understanding. I see her clearly. Someone who doesn't know how to love without conditions. Someone who needed admiration more than commitment. Someone who couldn't sit still in comfort without craving chaos. And that's not someone I can build a life with. Asterisk, as for Cole, he disappeared from our circle. Whatever charm he used to carry, it faded fast when the truth surfaced. Mutual friends distanced themselves. No one wants to be close to the guy who can't respect boundaries, not in friendships, not in anything. I heard he tried to reach out to Jasmine after everything ended. I don't know what happened between them after. I don't care. Asterisk, the thing about betrayal is that it always leaves you with a choice: turn bitter or turn better. I chose the second, not out of virtue, but survival. Bitterness felt too heavy. I didn't want to carry them with me into the next chapter of my life. I wanted to walk into something clean, something real. Something I didn't have to second-guess every time a phone buzzed or a glance lingered too long. Asterisk, now, when I think about love, I think about boundaries. About how trust isn't about never being tempted. It's about never choosing temptation over someone who believes in you. I think about the night I agreed to that stupid bet. How I felt myself shrinking. Just to make her comfortable. I'll never do that again. Never compromise my instincts to keep someone else entertained. Asterisk, that night didn't just end a relationship. It revealed the kind of love I never want to accept again. A love that demands silence, sacrifices trust, and dresses up betrayal as a joke. I let them play their game, and I lost. But what I gained was worth more than they ever took. Clarity, self-respect, a refusal to ever settle for half versions of love. Asterisk, some people cheat because they're broken, others because they're bored, and some do it because they think they'll get away with it. But no matter the reason, It always comes with a cost. And I've paid mine in full.